Excellente. Excellente.
Okay. We'll wait for Cheryl.
Yes, 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 yes. Very exciting how things work out. So very exciting, right? Very exciting.
Yeah, you can't.
I love it. I love it.
Can't make this stuff up, but it's all here for a reason, you know.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. And you know, something that happens regularly for me. Something comes up in my week or in between sessions that's really profound, a big deal, and you know, I like to share that, right? So now, like in the case now with the thing I shared with you, right? But I don't want to just kind of, oh, this is interesting, just kind of dump it out there. So I wait until the appropriate moment where I can connect it with relevance and pertinence. So it'd be interesting to watch for that. Doesn't always happen. You know, like I wanted to share it with Erica, and I didn't. It's been a couple sessions already that I never got a chance to. But they sit with me. They said they don't go away until that moment comes.
Wow.
It's very cool to do. It's very cool to wait and watch for it, you know, to see, because you can just
it?
share it.
How do you remember it? How do you remember it? Do you write it down?
No, it just stays in my awareness as something it has a pressure to it, because it's profound. You know, I'm so tightly connected to the profound. I can't let go of it. I can't let go of it. So it sits until that pressure is released, and there's an intent to have it be that way. Yeah. So it'll be very fun to sit and watch to see how it comes.
Yeah. Very cool.
Cheryl! Cheryl Angel. Cheryl Angel is here.
How are you?
You got all sorts of magical. And look at that face. Is that not a Cheryl Angel face right there?
I don't know about angel, but...
face, but all right. Yeah. Cherubic. Yeah.
We got to do a little balance here.
Yeah.
Between the angel and the...
When I was younger, I had, you know, more of that cherubic look to my face.
Cherub face. Yeah. You can see it on your picture on Venmo.
Exactly.
As a little boy. That's a cute picture. Cute picture. How's everything going? I'm dying. What's going on? What's the latest?
Yes, let's hear all the details. How are you, first of all? But that's more important, and we can hear the details. How?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not where I want to be. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah. Good.
I've had a really rough weekend, and I can't seem to shake it. You know, I thought Mercury left retrograde, but for me, it just slid right back in. I feel frustrated and stuck, and
we'll work on it. We'll work on it. It's part of the process, Cheryl.
And
it's part
of
I'm
the trying process. To do my slides, and I'm really like shocked. I'm just not getting it. I'm not getting it. I don't get it. It's not, up until now, everything I've read has connected with me in some way that I could that I could feel it and absorb it and know it. And now I feel like I'm going, what?
Wow, interesting. That's very cool, actually. That's very, very, very cool. Now you say, well, what do you mean that's cool? All right, well, just watch that. I'm going to make a prediction. The not getting it is likely because you assumed it to be more complex and involved than it really is. Your awareness has shifted, your understanding, your comprehension, your insight, you're putting it together. So what was complicated and a big deal before is now much simpler. So you're assuming there's this big complication and you're looking for what isn't there. It's kind of simple, it's there. So just watch. I'll bet you anything that's the situation. I bet you anything. Yeah. It's part of the process. We'll get there.
You know, and it started with slide number 11. And I was kind of like I was not quite in agreement with it.
Oh, good.
And then 12, 13, 14, 15. And I kept thinking, well, maybe I'm just not getting this one. Let me go to the next one. No, I don't get this one either. What's wrong with me? Let me try again. No, now I really don't get it because I didn't get 13 and 14. So 15 is a complete mystery. I got to go back.
Yeah.
And and it's bizarre because number 12, I wrote a takeaway prior to this weekend and one after.
Ah.
And I didn't realize I had done that. I thought I was starting with 12. And then I turned the page and realized I had already written 12. And I was like, oh, that doesn't even sound like the same person. No, not 12, 13. A warrior is always in balance. I thought that was my next slide because I had a blank page after 12. But I just started with 13. Then I turned the page and realized, oh, I already wrote 13. So, and I read it and I was like, oh, that doesn't even sound like the same person.
Fantastic. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. Very exciting. All right. So which was the first slide that you said, I don't quite get it or I don't quite agree?
Number 11.
Number 11 was the one where you said, not so much.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. It's kind of like, it was number 11 that I completely went, nah.
Yeah, you did 9 and 10 were okay because that's where we left off at 9. But
Right.
when you got to 11, that's when it started to get wonky.
So think of this on number. Let's just hear your takeaways. I'll share afterwards.
Okay.
So I just reread it. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is just before
on-
you start, Cheryl. Sorry, this particular slide. It is one of the key points here. Is the first impression to hold it until you get to the whole of it, so that you don't jump into that point of the first assumption to see, wow, that's radically different, and not get stuck in the obviousness, but to put it on hold and let me hear what the reasons for this is, and then come at it from a kind of the back end, and then it sort of falls into place. But yeah, let's hear. We'll go through it. It's very cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
Want to start at 9 or are you going right to 11?
11.
Okay.
Fear is, I read back is fear is something we do not ordinarily embrace. When we think of being a warrior, we attach an intention of fearlessness, but a true experienced warrior knows fear can be the path to caution, which sharpens our senses, puts us on alert, and prepares for predicting what may come. It heightens our attention to detail, leverages appreciation. I put a big question mark because I don't know what that means, and connects us to a world larger than ourselves. So the leveraging of appreciation, I need an explanation on, but first, I want to read you my takeaway. Takeaway: caution keeps us on our toes. I don't know how I feel about this. Isn't it our intent, our desire for application of our intents that keeps us cautious and alert? Our desire for knowing that keeps us attentive. I've been a prisoner. Fear is something I simply cannot do. I can do caution. I cannot do fear. Animals expect caution, but they smell fear.
Yes. Okay, so it's a very delicate, nuanced point. The whole intent here is to transform fear into caution, into sharpness, into alertness. So if we think of fear as energy, that's it, purely as energy. When it's configured as fear, it's not very effective. But when we reconfigure that fear, that energy, into caution, into alertness, into awareness, into attentiveness, and into even appreciation, it's simply taking the same energy, but reflavoring it. That's it, right?
Well, I mean, if going to jail and being a prisoner doesn't do that for you, nothing will.
There you go.
I mean,
so think exactly.
Done.
Exactly.
Done
Now,
and done.
That's exactly, Cheryl. Right. So for you, this is a duh point.
Okay.
You already know it. That's why it's not like you're looking for some big
Okay, so
revelation.
you're not
There's no
asking me to
revelation. You already got
re-employ
it.
fear.
No,
Oh, you
no.
already done that.
Replace
You
it,
already done
replace
that.
it with caution.
Well,
Right.
it's done,
Leverage it.
done and done, because I don't do
Exactly.
fear ever.
Exactly. Right. But now here's the thing though, Cheryl, think of it this way, right? Think of somebody going into jail with no fear, which makes them in a bubble of naivety and oblivion. They're going to get smacked. They're going to really suffer in jail, right? They're going to be wiped out.
Yeah, well,
Right now, think on the contrast, right? Your point is, if you go into jail all fearful and trembling and scared out of your crap, you're also going to get wiped out. Right. That's even worse because victims invite aggression, right?
Yes.
Right. So you've got the two extremes. Being completely immersed in fear makes you a victim. Being naive makes you a victim also, right? Being in a bubble of oblivion. So we take this and we take that energy that we feel, because when you go in there, you can't not have it because then you're in the bubble. But to have it is also inappropriate. So we leverage it. We transform that energy from being fear into being awakeness, being alert, being sober, being calm, and being within your strength, within your power, right? So it's a matter of transforming that energy. So when we think of fear as inappropriate energy that we can use to be appropriate energy, this is powerful. Now, that energy comes from somewhere. If you like just go in there, this is no big deal, and you don't feel that fear and don't transform it into being alert, paying attention, being sober, being aware. When you're in jail, you got to be aware every single moment of the day, right?
Yeah.
You can never drop your guard, right?
No.
Right,
Never.
exactly. Now, so that's very powerful. Where does the motivation for that come from? It is transmuted, transformed fear. See what I mean? Or it can be. Yeah. Because if you just kind of, this is no big deal, you don't have that motivation to say.
Yeah, but for me, it wasn't. I went in there with a strong sense of self-preservation.
Exactly.
This is not going to happen to me. This is
exactly.
I'm not going to be attacked or a victim any further.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen.
Right. So look at that.
You will smell my strength. You will not smell my fear.
Exactly. So you already know this lesson from a sophisticated, very profound way. What is self-preservation but transmuted, transformed fear? It is fear of being injured, being wiped out, death, bullied, tortured, whatever, right? That is so self-preservation is an appropriate transmutation of appropriate fear. There are some things to be appropriately afraid of. However, the usual reaction of fear is not appropriate. So we need to take that energy and transform it into something appropriate. You transformed the fear, which is the self-preservation of the negative side of that, into a positivity to say, I'm going to self-preserve, not to be afraid of self-preservation, right? But the fear led to the non-fear.
Okay.
A very subtle point, right? But that energy, the motivation to be strong, to be sober, to be aware, to be attentive, that motivation is ultimately rooted in fear. You had the sobriety, the sensibility, and your warriorness, your innate warriorness transmuted it and said, no, I'm going to use this as strength, as awareness, as the liberation, right? I'm not going to be a victim. And you weren't, yes?
No.
Exactly. So that's what I said. Right in the beginning, remember I said, this is going to be a point which is you assuming there's more, but it's already a duh to you. You know this, the power of transmuting fear. You're an expert at it. You know exactly how to do it. Fear in the feeling of how it's normally felt is not an option for you. That's precisely what this is about. We don't want that because that's a debilitating usage of that energy. That's a real truth, right? That there is danger. Right, so let's take fear out of it. Danger, risk, threat. Instead of using the word fear, let's use danger, fear, threat, and risk. those you transmuted into being strategic, being alert, being aware, yes, being hyper attentive, being powerful, being solid, being in your strength, right? And being the opposite of a victim. That's precisely the point here. But we have to really be absolutely real to say we cannot deny there is danger, there is risk, there is threat. That's just another word for fear, right? So fear is the negative reaction to that reality, right? So we are just, it's terminology. If we just replace fear with danger, risk, and threat and say, oh, how can we leverage danger, risk, and threat, right? I mean, some people leverage it into excitement. Yeah, it's possible too. People get a thrill. They drive fast cars or do whatever. Yeah. So
jump out of airplanes. I got it. Yeah.
Right. But you did it when going to jail. You did that appropriately. That was a magical gift in this one instance. Just in this alone, Cheryl, your ability to transmute danger and risk and threat strategically with massive sobriety and awareness and power.
See, sobriety, I get that. That's that. Yes, that's extremely clear to me.
Exactly. Now, let's think of this in another situation. You go on, for whatever reason, you have to go through a really risky jungle, right? With all sorts of threats, and you've got a guide, right? And that guide says, listen, we got to be alert here. There's real stuff out here. Right? You got to be enhanced. You've got to be so hyper aware that you've got to extend your senses beyond just the surface. You've got to listen for what you can't hear. You've got to listen for the silences. You've got to listen for the unknown, whatever. Right? That's the kind of guide you want. Now they make this into what a thrill and an adventure and an exciting thing rather than, oh my God, this is the terrible thing, right? See? So that's being a spirit warrior. We take the reality and we transmute it to enhance ourselves, because I can't be that hyper attentive and hyper aware if I don't have an extra energy input leverage mechanism to spur me to get to beyond myself normally. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, take that that awareness that you had in the prison. Is that easy to maintain day to day?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No, it's a very deliberate.
Yeah.
I mean, I was woken up in the middle of the night with a prisoner who had a razor blade to my throat.
Wow.
And I mean, I had a few seconds to make a very deliberate decision of how I was going to handle this. Am I going to scream and let her know that I'm afraid she's going to kill me? Or do I throw this bitch off of me and beat the hell out of her?
Yeah.
Guess what I did? Yeah.
And that's appropriate in those circumstances. It's appropriate.
But I did, you know what I mean? I had a split second to make that decision. And that's what I did.
Sobriety, right?
It's always it's something you can never stop.
Exactly.
With this cautious and awesome, self-preservation decision.
Exactly.
I will survive this.
Exactly.
Yes.
It is taking that energy to motivate yourself. If that energy isn't appropriately transformed, then we don't act appropriately in such circumstances. Furthermore, if that energy is not there, in other words, somebody who doesn't feel fear, they don't act. They don't have the energy to act. They don't have the energy to step outside of themselves and do what they would not ordinarily do. You were able to do because that energy had been transformed. The energy was there for the motivation to act. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the key point that I'm trying to make here in this point about fear. It is that there is energy that motivates us to act that is otherwise not necessarily present. Right? To recognize that in severe situations, we need extra energy. And that comes from taking danger, threat, risk, fear, transforming it, transmuting it into having it there available to us to use. Otherwise, we're kind of screwed without that extra energy to act. Yes?
Yeah.
I mean, all of that awareness and attentiveness was useless without the ability to act, right? I mean,
Okay.
you established the dominance and said, don't fuck with me, otherwise you're going to get fucked over. And then you got left alone after that, right? I mean, it was
Yes.
necessary in the hierarchy system. Unfortunately, you know, this is a reality of that world. It is a severe hierarchy world, right? So unfortunately, you have to play the game. Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
equality in prison. None.
No.
If you come and somebody as an equal, they automatically peck on your head and put you lower, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. You either leave me alone. I'm a crazy bitch. I'm not looking to bother you, but just leave me alone. I'm the elephant. You can play your line games. Just leave me the fuck alone. That's it. It's very important, that very important, but it needs action to say this is for real.
Right.
Not
Right.
just that this is a ploy. They see you act and act with intensity and with power and with realness, right? And there's no bullshit to it. You can't fake that shit. It's got to be real. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Absolutely has to be real.
You either
Absolutely.
are or you're not. And
Exactly.
yeah,
I had a
And
similar situation.
not a whole
not
lot of in
to scale,
between
but
in prison. You're either
exactly.
you either are or you're not. And yeah.
Right. Exactly. So it's very powerful. The point I want to absolutely emphasize, you had the available energy to do that. And that came from transforming risk, threat, survival, self preservation, right? Which is another way of saying fear. This is the same thing. I understand you don't want to use the word fear because in that environment, you can't even think of it, which is very powerful.
Mhm.
But in you know, from a broader conceptuality, it's just the language, right? So it's still the same thing, essentially. Self-preservation, it's just the flip side of fear. Risk, threat, danger, same thing. Just this different words. But you transformed it into power, into a motivated energy, that you had that extra energy available to act when needed. Yeah. Very, very important. Very, 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 very important to have that ability to act. And it's that act is acts which are outside of our usual capabilities.
Yeah.
Without that transformed energy, you wouldn't have had that energy to act. Yes.
Right. Right.
So it's a, you know, it's a skill that we use to say, okay, I'm going into battle, going into jail, going into battle. You know, when I was homeless, when we first came here, you know, we had nothing, homeless for a while. It was a magical adventure. I mean, it was really, really magical. People think homeless, oh my God, you poor thing. No, it was fantastic. It was what an incredible experience, an incredible gift. But the same applied there. You know, you have to be sharp. It's the same environment, you know, and that was a very severe situation too. Tons of homeless people in the space, you know, it was very risky.
Yeah.
But still, you know, through applied strategy like that, you
Mhm.
have the ability to act and do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember one of the, you know, you're hanging out with a couple of guys and they want to, in the little group, the little circle, you know, I'm very nice and friendly, but at some point they wanted to test the hierarchy and the things. So the guy, you know, starts getting into an argument with me and I said, no, screw this, you know. So he wants to start, you know, start to get physical. So typically those things, you know, they push and shove because guys don't want to step it up too quickly. But we're on the side of the street, on the pavement. And I'm saying, you're gonna fuck with me. I made every effort to throw him. The cars were very close. There was no yellow line. Like they were right there by the pavement. There was a lane. So I made every effort to throw him into that traffic.
Right.
That was the end of that.
That's right.
Never again did they ever bother. You know,
Yeah.
and you know the others who were there too saw this. And
Yeah.
hey, you know, you're gonna come work with me. I'll throw you in the traffic. Sorry, I don't care. You know, I'm
Yeah.
putting an end to this. I'm not just here to
E-
no. This is I play for real. You know, and it's very powerful that.
I
But you have
was
to have that energy to be able to do that. It's not something I would normally be able to do. But
right.
this was a very big situation. It wasn't only me though, too. You know, I had somebody with me that I was responsible for in that situation. So it was a big deal. You know, there's more to it.
I-
Got to leverage that
I
energy.
mean, I know as you probably did that you were surrounded by a depth of desperation that you'd never really experienced. And I saw that and I felt it. And I knew that my response to it had to be just as
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
severe.
Exactly. You
I
cannot tap
wasn't
into-
desperate. I
Correct.
wasn't desperate, but your
Exactly.
desperation will not take me.
Exactly. Exactly. And the hopelessness, you know, and the victim
Yes.
mentality. You know,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
someday I'll share with you all of those experiences that I
Yeah.
had in that time. It was fantastic. I mean, it was just too magical. The major gift of it for me was an opportunity to self-prove way of impeccability.
Mm.
I went into it ahead of time with this particular slide, knowing it ahead of time and applying it, using strategy, you being deliberate in everything. So that experience turned out to be, boy, it's one of the, you know, most magical times. That it was a real fun experience, literally fun, you know. It was really great. It's really magical. But it was through application of all of these. Now, before that time, yes, I've had other experiences like in the desert. That was also an experience where we were completely in the middle of nowhere, where it was also application. But this time it was not just being with yourself, but with others, you know, applying your strategy to others. This is
Right.
very cool opportunity to apply. Really potent.
Well,
To know, Cheryl, that when you say about this point of self-preservation, right? That when you say, I can be sober and act when needed, that's not just something that you say, right? It's built on realness. You've proven it to yourself that you can and will and have. That's a very, very potent self-knowledge. Yes.
mm-hmm.
Same for me. You know, I had all my understandings. Yes, I applied them in many different situations with bullies and all of that stuff. But you know, bullies aren't at school, they aren't actually going to literally kill you. It's a big level difference, right? So you know you have that kind of safety out on the street. You know, right when we got there, one of the first things that was the talk at the moment was somebody, you know, one of the homeless people got killed in their sleep in the park, you know, and that was like the third or fourth one. So it's like, hey, you know what, this is for real over here. So, but you know, leverage. So it was an opportunity to apply, not just to survive, but to thrive, which is exactly what happened. It's powerful knowledge to know that you can, that it's not just an idea, it's not something you say. In other words, it's, you know, you might believe that you can, but to know that you can is infinitely more valuable than to believe that you can. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you take your prison experience in this context as profound self-confidence of your ability to apply, to do, to step up. You're not just saying this stuff. You for real. Now, of course, we want the sobriety to understand, yes, that I'm not going to be a bully in my life in general because it's
Yeah, I
not a
can't be a
prisoner.
prisoner. Well, I can't be a prisoner forever either.
Exactly, because prisoner mindset, it's appropriate in the prison,
In
but
the
it's not
prison,
appropriate outside of the prison. And of course,
right?
you know this, right? With the
Right.
long timers, when they get out, they're so uncomfortable in the real world, they can't handle it because they come back because it's so
Well,
comfortable for them. They
you
can't
know what
adjust.
you can liken it to, and I don't know that I've ever heard anyone else say this before, but being in prison's like being in a zoo.
Yes. Yeah.
Really, it is. I mean, you
Absolutely.
even have people coming through a couple
Yeah.
times a day and looking into the bars at you. It's like being in a zoo. You're being observed. You're being captive.
Yeah.
You're being put in with other animals that you don't know anything about. You know what I mean? Some of them are dangerous, some of them are not. So it's like being in a zoo. And if you're in a zoo for most of your life, how do you know, they would never release an animal into the wild after it's been in a zoo for 30 years. You know what I mean? But they do that to people.
Yeah.
For me, it was just, it was just an absolute confirmation that I don't want to be in a zoo
Exactly.
when I got
And
out.
also,
But I really had trouble shedding that zoo mentality. To this day, sometimes it rears its ugly head,
exactly. And that is where we started. Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the key points that Cheryl shifted from that dominance chicken mindset mentality into, hierarchy, into saying there are other ways of doing this. There are more sophisticated ways. There's a different paradigm out there, right?
Right.
Impeccability is that alternative paradigm. You
There we go.
have, you have it in you.
Right.
It's just being aware of it. That's my job.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
Like this point, you already know this. This is a duh point to you. That's why my first statement, I predicted that you're going to think it's more complicated than it is. No, you know this so well. It's a duh thing for you.
Okay.
Right. So same thing when we go on that excursion through the jungle, right? And we take that heightened energy shift into being aware of everything, right? Through that awareness of potential danger and threat and risk, we're also aware of every bird, every insect, the way nature is integrated together. Our awareness is heightened. It takes just one little awareness tweak to take heightened awareness and shift it to appreciation.
Okay.
It doesn't take much, right? To see the magic of the jungle and how it works and how everything is, and to see the greater system and see how you're a part of the system. And in the case of prison, to appreciate your own strategic sobriety.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
I was
appreciate,
I was waiting for the prison appreciation because I
to
really
appreciate, to appreciate.
how do I
well, now-
appreciate that?
right. But listen to that story of you told about the blade to your throat, right? To me, that is a story where you are sharing an appreciation of your own sobriety, sensibility, power, ability to act. Right? It's hard. We don't always self-appreciate, but anybody listening to that story says, wow, very cool, Cheryl. Isn't that the usual response? Or that's awesome, or that was good. All of those comments are appreciation for you. Yes?
Yeah, I think I've only ever told one other person that. So
all right.
I just didn't want,
saying,
a lot of people
imagine-
don't know that because I don't want them to, I just didn't want them to be afraid for me, you know.
Yeah. Right. But I'm
Yeah.
saying though, if you were
I
to
just
tell
didn't think
that
it was
story,
something people needed to know that I, you know,
Fine.
beat this girl up like that as I
but
did.
still, I mean, if you
hurt her.
share the story in context, I understand why you don't want to share it, because it's not a pretty story. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that if you tell the story in the appropriate understanding of the context of it, right? They're not going to say, well, you did what you had to do. Good for you. Correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is appreciation, is it not?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say, though, is in the bigger context, when we take this energy and we transform it into caution, into alertness, into attentiveness, we are also transforming it into a heightened awareness. Now, it doesn't have to be an awareness that's we're only focused on the threats. We can also focus on the moreness of the situation, which is much of that moreness in the situation, right? In this case, the moreness in the prison situation was the moreness of your sobriety, your ability to act, to motivate, to transform, to hold yourself tight, to not let go. In other words, to be an impeccable spirit warrior. That's what you were when you were in jail, no?
I suppose you could say that, yeah.
I don't suppose so. I'm saying it as a fact. I'm saying it
Okay.
as a statement.
Okay.
I mean, you went into that situation and you dealt with it strategically and appropriately, yes?
Yeah. I
Now,
wish it
if you
didn't.
had,
I mean, I wish it didn't have to be, you know.
Correct.
I still come back. I still, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not like saying it through ego. I mean, it's not because I'm proud of it. It's because I have many, many regrets. I wish I would have never had to do the
But
things
that's
I had
part
to
of
do.
that's part of the experience, is to is to appreciate it as being a waste. There are other ways to learn those lessons, right?
True.
So good is not always nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
But if we don't learn it
Not
the
always
nice
nice.
way,
We've said that before, but boy, it certainly applies here.
exactly. So we don't always learn things the nice way. So sometimes we have to learn the good in the not so nice way. It doesn't make it any less valuable. Right. So we can appreciate the not the niceness of it, the unpleasantness of it, but we can also appreciate the goodness. They are not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah.
A full appreciation. We appreciate that it sucked. We also appreciate that there was lots of goodness for it. Yes.
Yeah.
As a self-proof that you have power, that you have strength, that you have sobriety, that you have the ability to act and motivate and energize yourself to go beyond your usual self in extreme situations. This is an incredibly valuable self-knowledge. Incredibly valuable, Cheryl. It is the price is worth it. Think if you didn't have that in your life.
Well, I don't know.
You'd be completely screwed. Fucked. That would be it. Sorry. Right? Watch people around you who do not have this understanding of themselves. Life just walks all over them. They're complete victims and they stay victims forever. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. This was, it's definitely a forced
Exactly.
lesson. Valuable lesson, but it was forced on me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. But again, you know, if you look at it from a mega perspective, like if you, the universe, and Cheryl's your child, and you say, wow, here's a choice. She cannot have this lesson and go with her life being a victim, living in fear, living in stress, not understanding that fear is not an option. Okay, it's an unpleasant lesson, but relative to our whole life, that's a price that seems worth paying. Yes.
Okay.
Very powerful, Cheryl. Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. Yeah. So I want to go back to the jungle example for appreciation. Because yes, in the prison, there's not much joy and beauty. But in the jungle, even though it's really dangerous, there's also much beauty and magic and awesome. Yes. We don't only want to be focused on the threats. Yes, the guide says you need to be aware because, you know, the freaking snake can drop out of the tree at any moment. But don't forget to appreciate the tree. Now,
Yeah, it reminds me, let me tell you a little story. It reminds me of when a long time ago, Justin was very little. Justin was maybe about 5 or 6. We went to St. Lucia. And in St. Lucia, they have these really high peaks. One of them was called like I don't know, the 2 Tetons. That means the 2 tits. They come up out of the ground. They look like titties coming up. Anyway, through these mountainous regions, you can take a tour to the, I guess, the banana fields or the pineapple fields. I forget where we were going. But anyway, this taxi truck is on this road along the side of this mountain, and off to the side is a drop that looks like it goes down a mile.
Wow.
No guardrail, no shoulder, no nothing.
Wow. Wow.
And you look out that window and it went straight down. But this is what we're saying. The beauty of that view was something I'll never forget.
Yes.
So this is what you're saying, and I'm getting that. Exactly. I get it. I connect to it. That it was terrifying. Yeah. But yeah.
All right. So let's get sophisticated with this. So we're walking through the jungle, and we you know, paying attention, and we know there's snakes and tigers and all sorts of stuff. Now, if that's all we're paying attention to, right, we're going to miss all of the rest. But if I'm paying attention to the flowers and the beauty and the trees and the wind and the air and all of the magic, in other words, if I'm fully aware of the totality of the jungle, how on earth am I going to miss the tiger? Not possible.
So you don't feel like if you spend too much time, you know, smelling the roses, you're gonna get stung by the bee. It's just.
But that's the point. I'm not only smelling the roses. I'm smelling the roses while maintaining awareness of the possibility of bee. So that's the point that I'm saying. Right. So now, yes, the other thing. Okay, so I'm walking in the jungle very literally, and I'm only worried about tiger. I miss the freaking boar that comes and runs his tufts up my leg, or the snake, or whatever. right? It limits my awareness. But if I'm appreciating all of the magical marvelousness of the jungle, I automatically notice boar, snake, bee, spider, whatever. In other words, when you pay attention to the moreness, it includes everything. When you only focus on the threat and the stress, it limits everything else. And you could get a bubble focus
I
where,
think,
yes, I noticed one threat, but I missed the other, right?
yeah, I think that's and especially when you're talking two extremes. You're
Exactly.
talking about a lion eating you, and
Right.
the beauty of something you have never seen before and may never see again. Okay. There's like these
Right.
two extremes fighting for your full attention. I think
Right.
it's
But see, I
I
want
think
my
it's something
attention.
that has to be mastered. That kind of a balance is
Absolutely.
wow.
Absolutely. I want to be aware of the jungle as a whole, not as parts. If I'm smelling the roses and I'm smelling the roses only, then I'm focused on a part only. It's limited awareness, and I don't want that. I want to be smell that rose, but be aware it's part of nature, of the jungle, of the entirety. So I want to have my focused awareness, my spotlight awareness on the rose, but my floodlight awareness is on the entire jungle,
Okay.
because I'm appreciating all of it. I'm appreciating the air, the wind, the leaves, the flow of it, how the things interact, the relationship between them. I'm in tune with the jungle. The moment any threat comes along, the jungle lets you know, right? Because it's not just a threat to me, it's a threat to other things too. So you notice things, okay, the birds went all silent. Why are they silent over there? And not, oh, okay, well, there's something up there, obviously, right? So that attunement through appreciation of the whole enables me to pay attention to threat, yes, appropriately,
Okay.
and adjust, and to see trouble before it sees me. Now, I don't only want to be paying attention to tiger, because tiger is hunting boar and I'm caught in between the two. If I put all my attention to tiger, I get run over by the boar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the thing. We want total awareness of the entirety of the situation, multiple perspectives, not just a singular perspective. That's why perspective shifting to multiple perspectives is so emphasized, 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 emphasized.
Yeah, look at Cheryl when you're at work. How when you're working that slicer or you're dealing with super hot oil, you have to be very focused on what you're doing because it's dangerous. But you can't lose sight of everything that also that's going on around you at work. Somebody needs you, or something else is happening, or a customer, or somebody needs your attention,
Yeah,
or
the,
something.
the, the fryer catches on fire, and yeah, you focused
Exactly.
on your slicing, and you like,
That's right. Right. Yeah.
you're aware of this. Again, same thing. You're standing in line at the cafeteria, and you're paying attention to somebody who wants to come and stick you. But when you do see a potential threat, you can't lose sight of somebody being an opportunist to jump in on the action, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Attention management is an incredible, incredible power and skill.
Yeah.
It leverages us into more. So
Easy.
this entire session is about leveraging our attention. Our self-conception is a fantastic attention, right? And if we have an appropriate self-conception, it leverages us to be able to be more, right? Your self-conception in prison was of non-victim, of strong survivor Cheryl. Also, not bully Cheryl, right? You weren't trying to be a bully, but you said, look, if I need to, I'm going to do this. Don't fuck with me. But you weren't saying, look, you need to be my bitch either, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
appropriateness, it's a magical thing, that self-conception. Your self-conception was absolutely appropriate for that circumstance, yes? You balanced all of the forces involved. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now we can do this in life as well. So, Cheryl.
Yes. Wait, I'm writing something. Give me just a
Yeah,
minute.
sure,
Awesome.
sure. Yeah.
Negatives. Okay, so let me see if I've got this right.
You
Negatives.
do. And
Okay.
sorry, before you share with me, I want to share why I say you have it already before we started the session. You have it in your post. You said, I am doing way of impeccability as a spirit warrior. I forget your exact words, but you said I'm a spirit warrior in that post. And it wasn't just a word that you're using it. I mean, you can feel the claim on that. The fact that you called yourself a spirit warrior in the full context and understanding of it means you get the session.
Okay.
That's what the whole session is about. It is about the acquisition of a self-conception for you that resonates with what you do. Right. So in that prison situation, some people will do what you did and just connect to the warrior part of it. That's not enough, because then they'll become a bully, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You need the spirit part of it to say, yes, it was appropriate, unfortunately, in the situation. But that's it. Appropriateness is contextual. It's not appropriate in all. And it doesn't mean I have to go to the extremes of, yes.
And beat everybody up.
Precisely. That's the spirit part. Precisely. Now, for some, they see it as appropriate to do that, right? I've got to be the top. So you can be top of the gang. I don't care.
It definitely awarded me a kind of a newfound respect among my peers.
Of course.
But I also, didn't really run out into the middle of the prison yard and claim it either.
Of course.
I really just didn't even want to talk about it.
Because, being the top dog also makes you a target. People think, oh, it's nice to be the top dog, but no, not really. It's a stupid system, because you now the one that everybody's going, you make your stuff. No, rather, you don't want to be the lion, king of the jungle, because everybody's trying to be king of the jungle. That's a horrible position. I'd rather be the elephant. I'm walking along, minding my own business. Lion's in my way. He gets out of my way because he realizes I'm in a different league. Don't mess. Lion doesn't mess with elephant. Lion, that king of the jungle. I love it that the lion is the king of the jungle, because lion is the ego, Leo, ego. It's so right? Elephant don't care about that stuff. People who want to be king, usually they're doing it for the wrong reasons. Elephant knows what's really going on. I don't need to prove anything to you. Yeah. Same with rhino and hippo and all of the others, giraffe. They don't care about lion. Many contenders for people that are more potent than lion. It's too funny. Yeah. It's too amazing. Yeah. But of course, lion's got the ego. Yeah. So we don't want to be that, Also, lion is a predator. All those others, hippo, rhino, giraffe, even the buffaloes, they're not predators. It's really fascinating.
So for my dictionary of power, I wrote balance is employing total awareness, appreciating the joy of the situation without ignoring the possible negatives and possible dangers. Balance is leveraging our attention between the two. Is that correct?
There you go. Duh. Yes, that's so beautiful. It's exactly what we're talking about. The balance.
I needed to get that. I needed to get there, and I wasn't getting there. I got it.
Right. So in that jungle circumstance, again, the balance between appreciation and risk, right? We, through paying attention to appreciating everything, we notice the risk that keeps us in balance. We aren't just smelling the roses and thereby ignoring the bee, right? Or ignoring tiger. No, by me paying attention to everything, I notice everything and can appropriately assign everything to its appropriate role or circumstance or situation. Yeah, and act appropriately. Yeah. So balance is having this balance between appreciation and threat and risk and danger. Yes.
Okay. Appreciation. I put joy, but we really want to say appreciation.
Correct. Or joy. Joy is just as good. It's same thing. Same thing. Because here's the other dilemma, right? I could walk through that jungle and be hyper aware of the entire situation. But awareness, yes, it's going to keep me safe. But it seems kind of a waste to not take that awareness one extra step into joy and appreciation. Yes. Why waste it? Why waste it?
Right.
Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And as a strategic power, my appreciation includes threat and risk and danger. Because I appreciate Tiger's got its own system. I appreciate how Tiger works. I appreciate bee. I appreciate everything. It allows me to appropriately attune. Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I just saw something today or read something where somebody said about deer. It's in a story, so I don't know specifically this, but he said, look, you can get fairly close to deer if you don't look directly at them. Now, I don't know about that, but I do know that, and I've applied this, that if a group of animals are there and you walking and your intent is past them, they see you focused on some point past them, you can get pretty close to them when you are walking at some point that's past them and they off to the side, right?
Mhm.
As opposed to walking, I'm going there, but I'm looking at them. My intent is on them, or my intent is trying to get close to them. I can get very close when I'm focused my intent on some point past them to the side slightly. Right? They see I'm not coming for them, but the moment you try to get close to them, then they move away. Just how they're built. So when we appreciate the dynamics of the situation, we can leverage them strategically. It's very powerful. Very,
Yeah.
very powerful.
Yeah.
Also, as you know, not being prey, it unhooks the predator from his predation. Yeah. So the moment you run, you kick in that reflex, they chase you. But the predator comes up to you and you act like you're a fellow predator, or you're one of the pack, you're one of the team, you're looking around, where's the prey? In that moment, they're very simplistic. Oh, you're a fellow predator. Oh, well, you're not food. Okay. And off they go.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's very powerful. I've used this many times with bullies and aggressive people. Just basically, there's all sorts of different strategies. I mean, I have a little, the art of fighting without fighting, in terms of this kind of strategy. There's many, many, many tactics out there that we can use. Fight or flight. That was the whole article that I wrote, all about fight or flight. No, nonsense. There's a whole bunch of other
Yeah.
options that we
There's
can
lots
use
of
to
other
decide.
options.
For
Yeah.
instance, being crazy,
I
right?
mean, it is sometimes the answer, but
Right.
oftentimes it's not.
Sometimes, right. But take what I just said now, right? Making
Yeah.
friends, being an ally, being on the same side. That's a
That's
very
right.
powerful strategy. What about being crazy?
Yeah.
You
Right.
come and this person, most people and animals too, you act crazy, they instinctively back away from crazy. They don't know how to deal with it, right? And they just want to
Right.
leave it. Well, not
Yeah.
interested. So that what about just laughing? Somebody
Yeah.
comes to you and you just laugh, but it's a pure, non-mocking, free laughter. They start laughing with you. It's like, what the hell? Okay, share, where's the joy here? It's a joyful laughter, not a joke laughter. It changes the whole paradigm. Gone is the aggressiveness, that whole you, the victim, it's all gone. You've changed the paradigm. Many, many things we can do. It's quite amazing. It's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, that whole idea of fight or flight is the only two options is terrible, 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 terrible. Limits you to just those two. And you think that's only thing. No, nonsense. No, 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 absolutely not. Not. There's many, many, many ways to deal with it. Many, many ways. Yeah. Very powerful stuff. But this is what we are doing as spirit warriors, right? One of the profound differences of being a spirit warrior. Why warrior? It is because of strategy. The warrior part is not about being able to be violent. No, it's got nothing to do with violence. A true warrior, a true warrior will see the use of violence as a failure,
As a what?
as a failure, as a failure of their strategy, right? A true warrior, an impeccable warrior, will use strategy as their first weapon. Awareness, preemptiveness, extrapolation, anticipation, right? If I don't see trouble before it sees me, right, I failed in my awareness, in my extrapolation, in my anticipation. My strategy is simply to get out of the way, right? That's it. It's very simple, right? Very, very simple. Now, obviously, that can get complicated. You can see, and all right. So there are times, but what makes us a warrior is in extreme situations like that, where you wake up with a knife to your throat. There aren't any other options. That's it. The necessity and the ability to use violence when it is appropriate is part of our toolbox. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a last resort, yes. But those around you need to know you are willing to apply that last resort, right? That's
Right.
why being a warrior says, I am willing. I don't choose it as a first option because, it's any warrior knows the use of violence is always risky, you know,
Right.
always. There's always risk involved. So it's a last resort.
Absolutely.
It's not, there are better ways that you can be more sure. Get out of the way. Don't even have trouble see you, that you don't even get into that situation. Don't be a target, in other words. So much more potent. So that's the magic of warrior in this context. It is an ultimate warrior.
Right.
You have to have that ability to be able to apply. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very, very powerful stuff. And you know that about yourself. In other words, you have the warrior part down. Absolutely. Now we are combining it with spirit to say, oh, we're going to take this to a different level. We're going to have this awareness, this attentiveness, this hyper energizedness, that alertness of a warrior in battle. We're going to transmute it into an alertness to appreciation, to joy, to magic, without letting go of strategic awareness of risk and threat and danger. Yes?
Okay.
We are maximizing through our joy and appreciation. We automatically take care of risk. If we only focus on risk, we could lose the joy and the appreciation. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if I'm fully appreciating flower in its totality, how the hell do you not miss the bee when you go in to smell it? I mean, if you do get now stung by a bee, you've only got yourself to blame for being unaware. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
But if I'm only focused on bee, I can easily miss flower.
Right. Okay.
Funny, I just looked up deer's vision because I saw right there, Cheryl, on this 4th Street exit off of 22. You know where I mean, downtown Easton?
Yeah.
The 4th Street exit. So you're coming around Cemetery Curve and you're heading towards New Jersey. I'm coming at the light because I'm coming from downtown. And I'm getting ready to turn to go back by the shelter and
Gotcha.
and there's a deer on the highway. This is 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
Well, not a huge deer, a smaller deer.
Yeah.
And it was running, it was on the concrete median, running in the opposite direction.
Wow.
Towards downtown or towards the shelter?
Towards Palmer. It's on the highway. Then it decides to cross. I'm thinking, what is it about a deer's vision that he can't see these cars and things? And I just looked it up because we were talking about some different things about deer.
Yeah.
They said the deer's vision is 2200. So that means what we see at 100 meters, which is about 600 feet, they only see it 20 meters, which is 60 feet. So it's,
wow.
yeah. So they don't see, and unless their nose is tipped up, that's how they can see. That's the only time they'll see you, if their nose is tipped up to see a human. Plus, they can't see very far. They can't see much past 65 feet. Now, in night vision, their night vision is 500 times better than a human being's. But this is broad daylight, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how does this thing not see the stream of cars coming and then cross over right in front of it? And you can see its body got hit twice, when it was by the median and then when it went off to the other side. But it didn't die. If it went over the embankment, the guardrail thing, there was a drop there. The drop is when you come down from Lafayette College and there's that little road that juts up. I'm thinking, I almost wanted to go back and see if that deer was under there. But I'm like, I just couldn't understand a deer's vision. I mean, they're always getting hit by cars.
Right.
Right. It makes sense, right? I mean, most predators, we tend to think of predators hunting in the day. We see the videos and that, but they only show the day ones because, well, they can't really show you the nighttime. But the vast majority is at night. So their vision needs to be optimized for at night, which comes at the cost of the day. But in the day, if you're not seeing that far, it's not that critical, because when you see it, it's so obvious you can run away. But at night, that distance changes quite considerably. No matter how good your vision is at night, you can't see beyond that, whatever that range was, 65 yards or whatever feet. So it makes total sense, when you consider it in the full context of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adapted vision.
Wow.
So we want to have both night and day vision.
Yeah.
That's what we're aiming for here.
Mhm.
Both. The ability to see far and near. In other words, contextual appreciation, to see the
Yeah.
multiple layered contexts of things, not just be bubble, not just be bubble. Yeah.
Mhm.
Again, we want to be safe, but we also don't want to not appreciate and have joy. Right, Cheryl?
Right.
Yeah, that's the key point that I really want to emphasize. This is our focus here. Yes,
Okay.
we are going to be absolutely potent as the warrior part in that safety, in that strategy, in that deliberation, in dealing with threat and risk. But we don't only want to be focused on surviving. No, we need to be focused also on evolving and to do so with joy and pleasure and fun, which is thus appreciation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we want it all. We want the whole package.
Why not?
Survival, evolution, and appreciation, and enjoy surviving and enjoy evolving. Yes, why not? Exactly. Why not? We are ultimate warriors. In other words, our strategy is an ultimate strategy. It takes care of us in all situations. My focus on appreciating life makes me aware. And through that awareness, I automatically notice the dangers because I am aware, because I'm so aware of appreciating the moreness, the allness, the wholeness, the overallness, overview perspective. My one catches the other. Doesn't work the other way around though, right? Very cool stuff. I mean, I'm emphasizing the same point repeatedly, but it's very, very, very potent. It's a very simple point, but it's very powerful. Yeah. So, that attention leverages appreciation. Yeah. And on the whole connects us to a world larger than ourselves. That's the point. We want to be connected to the larger world, the greaterness, spirit, in other words. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Energy of things. So the whole point of fear is to take it as an energy and to say, it's not very appropriate in this formulation of energy. I'm going to reconfigure it into an enhancing energy as opposed to a limiting energy. It's as simple as that, just a reconfiguration. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What you did. It's what you did. You know how to do this. You know how to do this. You have this ability, this skill. And that's what I want to emphasize. That's the point of all of this, the awareness that you already possess the skill. Just going to add a little bit more to it. Just going to add appreciation and joy to it. Yeah.
Okay.
And the awareness of more, right? Very cool, Cheryl. Very, very, very cool.
Well, now that we have a complete grasp on the fear concept, the next slide brings me with another issue with humility. I like it.
You what?
I like it. I feel like it's the opposite of superiority. I feel like humility is the lowering of your own self-worth. And I don't like that. I don't like the word, I guess. I don't like the word. I like the word sobriety. And I like awareness.
Yes.
And I like balance. Like humility. Okay, so here we go.
Right. So again, it's how we understand the term.
I guess.
Your sobriety is an appreciation of your own qualities, skills, understandings, abilities relative to the situation and also relative to the universe.
Okay.
Your sobriety says, yes, I can deal with this one girl, but I can't deal with the whole prison.
There you go.
So
right.
I have to have appropriateness, right? Balance.
Right.
Appreciation. So in that moment of sobriety that says, yes, I can deal with one and put off all, but I don't want to have the whole gang come after me. That's not appropriate either.
I mean, I don't think you have to be humble in order to not say, well, I'm untouchable. I'm either superior and untouchable, or I'm humble. I'm in the middle there.
Right. So humility, as we using the term here, capital H, humility, is another word for relative appreciation of the circumstance and the situation and where you fit into it, right? So we are using humility here in the context of us relative to the universe, so that we do not get trapped by ego. Right now, you did not get trapped by ego in that situation with that woman, right? Somebody else who's very insecure and all of this nonsense. Oh, I'm tough. And then they could run away with that. And the next thing, everybody's coming after them. Right? I mean, Bruce Lee could not walk around in public. He could not. Right? Everybody knew his skills and he would get challenged like all the time. And it was amazing. Everybody were, I mean, they know what he's about, but they would still come and challenge him. You know, it was really bothersome for him. And every now and then some guy would get the floor wiped with himself. It made no difference.
Yeah, right? People would still come for him. Yeah.
Exactly. So humility in a situation like that, we have to understand it is about finding the balance. It's not about saying humility is putting myself at the bottom. No, it is to appreciate my talents, my skills relative to the entirety.
See, but if I think I already know who I am, and I have a certain amount of confidence in who I am and what my abilities are, humility tells me I need to take it down a notch.
No,
that's already, just what I hear.
Right, exactly. That's what I said to you again. That point I made in the beginning. You are going to assume it's more than what it is. You already possess that humility. When you went into the prison, you went into it with sobriety, which is another word for humility. It's the same thing. It is appreciating our skills, talents, and abilities relative to the situation and relative to what is available out there, right? That's humility, that we don't overestimate ourselves, right? Now, a warrior's humility also says, I don't underestimate myself. It's about sobriety.
Okay, well, let me start by doing my read back on this one, so you kind of know where I'm coming from. Okay. So this is module 3, session 1, number 12. We need to connect to caution as it keeps us humble. And I put in parentheses, are you kidding me? Humility is important. Are you kidding me? Without it, self-assurance is then our driving force, which push us out of balance with the universe and within our self-conception. Going to knowledge demands sobriety. Got that. I said, I'm in trouble again here. Humility has historically meant a lowering of self-importance. Why in the hell would I want to further empower that? For most of us, we've spent our whole lives screwing up due to lowered self-importance. Maybe it's a play on words, but humility is the wrong word for me. Sobriety, yes. Humility, hell no. Humility for me is just the opposite of superiority, and I can accept that my way may not be the way, but that is due to an openness to the alternative, the eagerness to know, and an application of diplomacy and understanding.
Fantastic, fantastic. So all of it goes in how we conceive of these terms, which is very, very important, right? It's personal. For you, you say humility is the opposite of superiority. Well, actually, inferiority is the opposite of superiority.
Correction. Okay.
So humility in this case is simply an appropriate appreciation of where we are at in the entirety of things, right?
Okay.
We don't want to underevaluate and we don't want to over.
I wish there was another word for it. I don't know why I connect such a negativity to it.
Right. There is. Now, I'm not saying accept humility, not at all. Throw humility right out of the window. Don't add it to your dictionary of power. Simply use, when you put sobriety, maybe make a little note there. Appropriate relative perception and appreciation of self.
Okay, let me write that down. Appropriate. Let me write that down.
Relative appreciation and understanding of self.
Okay. Appreciation.
So this is all about, and that's just another that could be an understanding and explanation for humility as we're using it here now, right?
Okay. So yeah, because that is so not what I've always applied to that term.
You do have you do have the humility that I'm talking about here. You do possess this. You've always had it, right? I mean, you going to prison, right, made sure that you do not go over. Now, unfortunately to me, your prison thing went you the other direction a bit too much. You didn't find the balance that's appropriate in my mind. You undervaluated yourself too much from that experience, but that's okay. It's coming now. So now you're appreciating your power, your strength, your moreness, your potency. And it's much of it is because of that experience, which proved to you that you have it. Yes? Right. So you can throw humility right out and replace it with sobriety.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Oh,
Not a
I
problem.
think I want to embrace a new meaning for humility. I think I want to
So humility
replace all that negative,
Yeah.
connotation that I've attached to it.
Exactly. So let's connect humility to appreciation, since that's our theme here, right?
Yeah.
When I'm humble in my use of humility, I say, wow, Soul, you've done a lot, you've worked a lot, you've made a lot of effort, but relative to the universe, you're still a bloody nincompoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I never forget that. I never forget that. Now, why don't I want to forget that? It's not that I want to feel crap about myself. No, I don't want to lose my connection to them more.
To the bigger picture. Yeah.
Because if I say I'm okay as I am, yes, I'm going to start to plateau, and I'm going to lose all of those magical moreness connectivities which come so regularly. I don't want to plateau. I love them all. Every time it comes, it's profound to me. It's just so incredibly beautiful and magical and awesome and fantastic. So I never want to lose that connection. So my humility says that, I may have doubled my bubble, but the universe is like, yeah, seriously, I couldn't even notice that, from my perspective.
Yeah. If we think of it just as free of pride, free of arrogance, free of rigidity, things like that. That's what humility is.
Now Cheryl's already this.
What's that?
Cheryl's already free of that. So,
Yeah. She just for some reason there's a disconnect with the word.
Right. So you're saying I don't need that. This is already abhorrent to me. But humility just keeps us maintaining that.
Humility
it's just for relative appreciation to the moreness, right? So we don't lose sight of the fact that as awesome as we are relative to the universe, there's more.
Yeah, don't lose sight of the big picture.
Here's an experience with that word. And God, if I got to hear this story one more time, we had these neighbors before, Jean-Francois, Karen and Russ Granzow. Oh, no. It was Juanita and Rob from South Carolina. That was 2 people ago in that house. So they were moving back south, and Rob stopped Greg in the truck to let him know that they were moving the next day. And he said, I've never met anybody. I'm sure you've heard this because Greg loves to tell this story over the years. I've never met anybody that was such a perfect combination of mastery and humility.
Oh,
I never heard.
And I said, inside, I said to myself, you couldn't be more wrong. He lacks confidence to an extent that he craves your approval.
Yeah.
He absolutely craves your approval. You know what I mean? And so that humble word, I just never wanted it attached to me.
Yeah. So in that case, this is actually, I mean, this person, right, the Rob you're talking about, now, he had no humility, correct?
He had to what?
He had no humility. He overestimated himself.
Oh, probably. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he was thought he had that was going on, and he was the bee's knees. And what Greg mistook this overconfidence and over-evaluation, he mistook for confidence.
Yeah.
No, it's an over-evaluation. It's a idea of self that's not matched with reality. Now, for somebody who has a bit of insecurity, they of course see only the positive side of that. They miss the fact that is based on insecurity, the awful truth of it.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Not a solution. It's a bullshit solution, in other words, that unfortunately Greg didn't see. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that person didn't
Still
appreciate
hasn't.
true humility. Right? Take humility in the context of Sue. You know Sue to be very confident and competent, and she'll take
Mhm.
on any project. I mean, doesn't matter whatever it is. But she's not arrogant about it. If she's
No.
going to come and help you with your roof or your deck or whatever the thing is, she says,
See, but I
I'm
don't
not
see,
enough this."
I wouldn't attach the word humble to her either.
Ah,
I don't
so
know. I just wouldn't.
yeah, yeah. So humble and humility is slightly different, right? Humility
Okay.
is a quality. We're not necessarily always humble, which humble is, we associate humble with like being a beggar. No, that's not being
Yeah,
actually
it's kind of
truly
like,
humble.
yeah, you
Right,
know what I mean? I've
right.
accepted my lowered place in the world and I'm
Right.
humble
But this
about
is
it.
the point. This is the point. The beggar bows his head to everybody. But given half the opportunity, the beggar doesn't accept anybody else. They insist that others bow their head to them also, right? They're still part of the superiority paradigm. So they've just put themselves at the bottom, but they're not free from that. Sue's humility is an acceptance of the reality of circumstances. I'm willing to tackle this even though I don't know it. That's humility, right?
Mm.
Arrogance is to say, I can do this even if I know nothing. Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So being humble and having humility is slightly different. Yes, they are connected. Also, the root word humiliation is tied in there. To have
Yeah,
humility doesn't mean we accept humiliation. That's a whole different thing.
yeah, that's a whole nother thing,
A lot
isn't
of
it?
people say, well, why would you want to have humility? You're just humiliating yourself. No, I'm not in the least. I'm
Yeah,
simply
yeah.
appropriately appreciating my relative place in the
Mm,
universe. And
yeah,
I don't care relative to anybody else. It's idiotic to compare myself relative to you, because compared to the universe, what's the difference? It's like saying, all right, you suddenly feel you're wealthy because you've got 100,000
mm,
or a million. What is a million compared to 100 or 300 or 500 billion? It's nothing, right?
Mhm.
Compared to all the money in the world, it now becomes idiotically relative. So your 100,000 relative to my 20,000 becomes idiotic. For you to get all huffy and puffy about I'm suddenly wealthy, it's silly, right? So that's the point here. It's about relative appreciation. That when it comes to the differences between our relative wealths, relative to absolute wealth, it's idiotic, it's meaningless, it's nonsense. So it's about maintaining that appropriate relative perspective and attitude, so we don't end up in these false comparisons. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So I
Mm,
don't care how much more or less because I know relative to the universe, it's idiotic, this comparison. That's
right.
our humility. Our humility is not connected to other people, but to the universe,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
Relative to the universe, we're all freaking nincompoops. How much slightly more, slightly less? It's idiotic, the comparison. It's so trivial, it's just idiotic. So, you know, so we're the blind leading the blind relative to the universe. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
I don't get caught up in this idiotic relative comparison mindset, which it just limits you. It's the whole why I object to the win mentality so much. People make posts in the group all the time about winning, winning, winning. And I point out, winning, like just today I made a comment. Somebody said something about winning. I said, it's a dangerous psychology.
Yeah, you know what? That's funny because on the end of my next slide, I wrote, if you win an argument, you've both lost.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly, Cheryl. Exactly. Exactly. See, you get the stuff. Now, keep in mind the context of the program. Most people that I'm likely to encounter are going to be dealing with ego and superiority and wanting to be wonderful and special. I mean, just look at the whole self-help industry. Look at the people who post in the group. Yeah.
Mhm.
How many of them are telling you, giving you advice? They feel superior, in not necessarily directly, but they feel they're entitled to give you advice. They're buying into the advice mindset, which is part of the superiority paradigm, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Limiting for them. It's very, very, very limiting. It holds them back. So my point here is, in this point of humility, likely that the likely participant is in dire need of humility. You, because of your prison experience, are not. You're in need of the opposite, really.
Mhm.
Yeah. See, so keep in mind, much of what is here is geared towards an aggregate, an assumption of what we are likely to encounter. It's
Okay.
not custom tailored to you. This
Yeah.
is why we have the Zoom sessions, because in the case of something like humility and also with the fear, it needs to be customized to you. It can't take it in the general, because you are not average. Now, very few of the participants are in fact average. The average really does very seldom exists, but they're all in what you may, in this case, humility and gosh,
Fear.
and fear are really pertinent to you. But somebody else, oh, I get it, and I see, oh, I need
Yeah.
humility.
I'm always afraid. I'm afraid of everything. Oh, there she is. Oh, no, that's my little boy. Oh, don't be nervous. I have 2 deer that come to see me now. One is a youngster, and we've named him Dexter. You can come over and eat, Dexter. And then there's a mommy, and I've named her Moonshadow.
Dexter and
Ah,
Moonshadow. Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So Dexter just came up to have some breakfast.
Oh,
But no, I get it. Some people, I've even heard them say, I'm afraid of everything.
right.
And then they have me who's basically says, I refuse to
Okay.
fear anything.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean you do not appreciate risk and threat and danger.
That is correct. That is
Right.
correct.
Because they are fearless people, but
That
those
is
are just
correct. Yeah. In
Right.
fact, sometimes I need a little assistance in letting that guard down a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Which is where the appreciation and the joy comes into it.
Right. Sometimes my appreciation of the risk factor is a little is out of balance.
Correct. That's why a warrior is always in balance. You see, when you start to add it all up together, it's very potent. Plus, the humility to says that, yes, I'm tough, but I can't only always have toughness predominate. I've got to sometimes be soft, be yielding, be open, be childlike. So humility is what brings
that is my challenge. Absolutely. Yes, that is my challenge.
Exactly. And if you'll notice, it's something that I make an effort to appreciate in you, your childlikeness, your openness,
And I appreciate the fact that I've never crossed over into the I'll get you before you get me mindset.
Yes.
I've never crossed over into that, but I've seen it happen.
Exactly, Cheryl. That's the thing that I emphasize and make an effort to emphasize every single time we hear. That you already have all of the moreness. It's just about applying. You have an appreciation that you don't want to get lost in what you just said, to get caught up in that. No, and to exercise your other sides more. All it needs is a bit of awareness, a bit of attention, a bit of encouragement, a bit of application, a bit of owning, a bit of self-proving, to say, I already got this. I just need to practice it. I just make a new habit and get rid of the old habits. You see how it all starts to fit together.
Yeah. Being aware and putting it into application is one step on top of the other. I mean, I'm already on that step of awareness. The application, I kind of feel like I've got 1 foot on and 1 foot off.
Yes,
so I'm still trying, you know what I mean? I know I have a ways to go.
Right. So we take that energy that heightens us, that motivates us, right? Which is the energy of survival, the energy of preservation, the energy of wanting moreness, and we transform it into appreciation, because now we start to learn, we start to grow, we exercise the fullness of ourselves, not just one aspect. Unfortunately, this is the problem. When you focused on survival only, you miss the boat. You can survive, and your survival you can really survive, but I see lots of things that survive, but do they have fun? Do they have joy? Do they appreciate? No. They always, survival is the stress, the struggle. It's like, that sucks. Sorry. You've won the argument, but like you said, you've really lost when you win. When you win an argument, you've actually lost, right? They
Yeah.
don't get this. They don't get this. I mean, you can survive and it can be sucky. Survival without evolution, survival without joy, without appreciation. Sorry, that's just suffering. You've just ensured that you're going to be suffering. Good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Everyone in it. It's
Yeah.
foolishness,
No,
right?
I don't.
So
No, I don't want that. And I
exactly,
don't want that for me. And I don't
exactly,
want that for, the people around me. I don't,
exactly, exactly,
how much fun are you going to be to live with if you're like that all the time?
exactly. You do
You know?
realize that sobriety, which is a big deal, to communicate and share to a participant typically. For you, it's the
Yeah.
usually the concept that participants get stuck on is not humility or fear, but sobriety. They don't get this word.
Mm.
Struggle with it. Don't get it.
Well,
I mean, you are a profoundly sober person. You might say, well, my history might disagree with you, but it is because of that sobriety. You weren't able to deal with it. It overwhelmed you. You didn't have options to deal with that sobriety, but you never, ever gave up on that. In other words, you were overwhelmed by the awful truth, which made you try and find different ways. You didn't have options, didn't have choices, right? But it was the sobriety that presented those awful choices. We are taking that same sobriety and we are adding extra options to it. Yes. So don't let go of your sobriety. Just there are more techniques, tactics, strategies that you can use to leverage your sobriety, like appreciation, awareness, attention management, habit management, mood management. All of these are mechanisms for managing your sobriety. Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Our sobriety tells us survival without joy is an idiotic accomplishment. Yes, that's sobriety talking, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, survival without joy, you're just in the same place without evolution. Same thing. It's kind of pointless. Yeah, you're
Right.
missing out on all the more.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I feel like in my sobriety, I need to deliberately make space for all of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
I need
Cheryl.
to deliberately make space for joy and the right joy, and because fun sometimes have gotten me into trouble.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So that's
I
why
had fun till it wasn't fun anymore.
yes. So we want things like elation, rapture, bliss, the superlatives of life, appreciation of the moreness, connectivity to magic. Yes, fun sometimes can be very childish, very limited. Look at your friend Mary and her fun.
Oh,
No, thank you
Jesus.
very much.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Pass. Yeah.
Same thing, I mean, I grew up in an alcoholic community where, drink. I call it the booze religion. That was the real religion, right? Yes, it was also, regular religion was a big part, but the true religion was the booze religion. And I want no part of it. Thank you very much. It limits your awareness. It limits your mindset. You just believe that your salvation is going to come from booze. Same thing as religion. Mostly it's an empty promise of salvation. Yes.
Yeah.
It's purely the booze religion is based on a belief that booze is going to give you this.
Yeah. I used to call, when I was first coming into my recovery from, I mean, I've gone back and forth a couple of times, but there was a time when I was in real trouble and I was coming into what I call my recovery. And I just referred to alcohol. It just occurred to me, is the big lie.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, it's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Lie. It lies to you. It lies.
Yeah. So let's really consider this, right? Most of what we take on as a should comes from bullshit manipulator narcissists, from people who are looking for control, from crappy people. Who is pushing this idea except somebody who A, has fallen into that crappy trap themselves, and B, wants to do it for purposes of control and manipulation. I'm the feudal lord and my serfs. I want you to work all day, go home, get drunk, pass out, come back the next day. Furthermore, I pay you in alcohol. I have actually seen this, right? When I was a kid, my uncle ran a stud farm with racehorses. Morning, noon, and evening, they would pay the laborers in booze, cheap wine. Oh, just the most horrible stuff, right? I mean, eventually the civil rights people put an end to this because, well, you're just, entrenching an alcoholic culture. But this is not something new, So I want to understand this, that when we start to look at shoulds in our culture, stuff that we subscribe to, from this perspective, that it's pushed by people who have an agenda. You should love your parents. You should obey everybody. All this. Who benefits from this? The BMN. You should be helping everybody. Well, of course, they're the ones who get all the help. They don't give it back. You see, it benefits them. So when we start to pay attention to these things very clearly, and the only ones who push those agendas are people who need to justify their crappiness. People who have good sensibility there. I don't have to go and force it on everybody and say, this is what you should do. I don't need to justify myself. So the crap that is our culture, our society, all of that stuff typically comes from people who are trying to justify and prove their own crappiness. So that's where philosophy of opposite comes into. Take the general conventional stuff, turn it on its head, and more or less in the region of opposite somewhere, you're going to find true sensibility. Like in the case of the booze religion, the very opposite is the thing that's true. It's amazing or valuable. It's powerful stuff to realize how much we in a slave culture, really. Well, feudal culture, same thing. It's all about control, manipulation. You want people to think that sacrifice. How noble is sacrifice? Who benefits from that sacrifice? The feudal lord. You're sacrificing your guts out. You're working hard. Work is this goodness. It is a profound, magical goodness. Somebody who can work all day and sacrifice for their kids and all this stuff, right? What are you doing? You're just a perfect slave. I don't have to whip you to work. You're doing it of your own accord. It's much more efficient if I don't need to supervise you, if you of your own accord are being a slave. How fantastic is that? What brilliance.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing when you think of it, right?
Yeah.
And we have centuries of this stuff. The slavery cultures evolved into the feudal cultures because, there's problems with slavery. But willing slavery, you can't fault that. Yeah.
Or can you, or can you?
Well,
Something's got to give.
Of course, I can fault it
just,
when I'm aware of what it is. I say, oh, sorry, dude, this is, yes, they may be willing, but they've been manipulated into this.
Yeah.
Not cool at all.
I mean, somewhere along the line, some enlightenment has to take place somewhere.
Precisely. So when you say, oh, but they are willingly doing this, they are not actually willingly doing it.
No, they're not.
But they've been manipulated, and this
manipulated and taken advantage of. Right. Surely.
Exactly. It's why I see should as an evil word, because should perverts goodness. Right? It perverts it. It subjugates it. That you are doing something that you believe is good for the benefit of somebody else, not yourself. Right? Your goodness is perverted and manipulated. That to me is absolutely just the essence of evil. Yeah. And that's now real super evil there, right? Now, so not cool in the least. Not cool in the least. But, we wake up now to this and we say, I need to choose. I have to stand up against should. And that's independence of being. Your awareness cannot be real unless you can stand up against should. Yes? Even if you're the only one in the whole freaking world to say, sorry, world, in this, you're just wrong. And you need to be able to do this. Doesn't mean that we're going to continually battle everything, but you need to be able to do it, to stand alone if need be on your truth, your impeccable thought through to the end truth. Without being able to do that, you can never really truly claim real true awareness. Yes? It has to be your choice, your free, clear, uninfluenced choice. That's the only time your awareness is actually real. Yes?
Right.
So, to come back to humility and fear, the fact that you do object, the fact that you aren't comfortable, this is the power of the program. right? Many of these things I know are going to be controversial. Some people will, like I said, same thing with sobriety. Wow, some people really get stuck on that word. Patience, even. Oh my goodness, some people really object to patience. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things that are going to click with us or not click with us. This particular session, as we go a little further, in the conception of your self-conception, the adoption of your self-conception, the precise wording, the exactness of it is absolutely essential. You need to have no doubts. You need to be able to say, I am whatever it is that you are, and embrace it fully. If you cannot embrace it with complete fullness, it's not going to have any power on you, right? So it is the same logic that we are taking all the way through. Every single slide, the point of the repeat backs and the takeaways is to make sure that you own it according to your sensibility, not mine. Right? So a lot of it is language, yes. And that's why we have the dictionary of power, because we understand that how you conceive a term, how I conceive it, not necessarily the same. So many of these are controversial. And through that nuance, we get to understand a bigger awareness, because, and we take that in the bigger picture to understand that words in general, language in general, it's just a haphazard business communication. Very seldom do we use words and they mean exactly the same to the other person. Yeah. I mean, especially when it's more complicated terms.
Okay.
Yeah, but even in simple things, so when we appreciate this about communication, then we realize, oh my goodness, communication is very haphazard. It's hit and miss. It's kind of luck of the draw, unless you build in sophisticated strategies like the repeat backs and the takeaways in which we check our communication, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
we know we're on the page.
the next slide, which I want to get to before we're done here today, it's funny, I almost wish I had the time, because I did this by accident. I wish I had the time to go back now and start over, just to write down a few things. I don't have the time to do it.
Doesn't matter, Cheryl. Doesn't matter.
I would love to just go back
Cheryl.
and do it again.
Do it, because we are not on a timetable. We are not on a timetable. So I want to make this very clear. Do it, and I'll explain why. We are not in a situation where you're going to go from the start of the program to the end of the program, and when you end, you're going to say, "Oh, aha." As a matter of fact,
I am now enlightened. Ooh.
Right, exactly. No, it doesn't work that way. Right. Yes, for some, what they really, really need comes in the beginning. Some it comes at the end, some in the middle. It comes, it goes, it comes back again. It doesn't matter. It's the process that's important, right? So do what feels right to you. And as we go through, things maybe will become simpler and simpler if you make the effort to get your foundations absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I know.
It's the foundation that's important. Once you've got the foundation, then the rest comes much simpler.
Okay.
So go back and do what you want to do. We are not on a timetable yet. I don't care how long we take on this. Totally irrelevant.
Okay.
But when done properly, we are using our time most efficiently and effectively, right? So going back and doing what you feel you want to do.
And I absolutely feel that we are. I absolutely feel that we are.
Exactly.
I also feel I've got more.
Yeah.
I've got more in there, and
exactly.
And I just feel like I need to get it out.
So when you go back and redo it, come at it from the perspective of you being a course creator, not a participant.
Okay.
Yes, you're a participant, but also look at it like through the lens of my eyes. What are my strategic considerations when I make these? Can I write it for Cheryl? No, I have to write it for Cheryl and Sue and Robin and everybody, right? I can't only write it for you. So that's why we have the Zoom sessions to customize to you. And what's on this next slide that we're looking at, right? The key point here on this next slide, the 2 power conceptions are pertinence and relevance. Yes? Yeah. So humility, by being a trigger word for you, more or less, mild, it now starts to connect to what's pertinent and relevant to you. And we see your circumstance, your individual circumstance, how that applies, right? So we see, we see that.
No, wait, pertinent and relevance is 15. I'm on 13.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how I got there, but anyway, it
Yep.
was the next slide for me. Somehow I got a little ahead of things here. Sorry.
That's okay. Because 13 is the one that I did twice. And it's just really, I think you'll find it interesting. And it's very simple. A warrior is always in balance.
Yeah.
And with a Mercury in retrograde and me being overwhelmed with craziness in my world, this is when I chose to work on my slides. So my takeaway was agreed. The need for balance, the requirement exists on many levels, a juggling act for sure. We must resist. I don't even know what I'm writing here. We must resist the ego that seeks to be correct and take the upper hand.
Yeah.
For me, is that right? Yeah.
It's not about right. It makes sense. How
Okay.
is it?
For me, this shuts down the ability to absorb and historically has been a knee-jerk reaction. I know this. This always results in an imagined or false victory, since I now have learned nothing. I know now, while applying appropriate influence, the key is to listen, be open. I do not surrender my truth, but I do not impose it either. The balance is between what I know, what I can learn, what I can take away, and what I can give away.
Holy shit, that's really potent. Send that to me, please. I'll add it into the program.
Yeah, that last part was fabulous. I love the end.
Send me the whole paragraph.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the point, Cheryl. You're going to find at some point, somewhere in the program, there's a point. Excuse me. there's a point about surprising ourselves and wanting to surprise ourselves, being open to surprising ourselves. That's what happened now. Cheryl's not in this position where she's accepting that, oh my God, Cheryl can be really profound and say stuff that's really awesome and magical and wise and sober and fantastic. But you did, because when you were in that space, your awareness was different. And you came up with the stuff, right? Because it was really, you were in it. Now you're seeing it from like your normal self. And so your first instinct was, wow, this can't make sense because it's too profound. No, you can be ridiculously profound. You are. It's why I so enjoy doing this with you. You have so much moreness to you. It's incredible. So yeah, send me that whole paragraph.
Okay. And that's where I wrote, if you win an argument, you've both lost.
Exactly.
And I also wrote, and I don't mean to be mean on this, by the way, I have no idea what Robin is talking about.
Which Robin?
I don't mean to be mean. Well, there was something from Robin at the bottom of that slide.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah. So this is magical, you know.
But she's going in a whole different direction than me, obviously.
Correct.
And I didn't read her. I didn't read her thing until after I had already rolled this around in my brain and came out with my takeaway. You know what I mean? And then I read hers and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So,
but this is personal to her, you see. That's the magic of what we do. That's why, you know, programs that are like cookie cutter, they don't work. The content is a starting point, not an end. Your takeaways, your repeat backs gets us to where, look at this on this slide. This is what Robin came up with. She went in a whole different endpoint, but it's pertinent and relevant to her.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That's what I mean. I don't mean to be mean, but I didn't connect with I didn't connect with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to work at it. And, you know, to really think it through, to see how it could apply to somebody else. So it's a good exercise.
And I mean, it's not like I don't want to. It's not like I wouldn't like to, you know, find my takeaway from her point of view. But I was lost.
Get into the mindset of somebody who was coming at things from a fear mindset, which you don't have. Right? The shift from fear to caution is what provided balance.
Okay.
See?
Okay.
And caution made them accountable. to say, I need to take action. I'm responsible here. Again, provided balance, where fear says, I have no control. In other words, I'm not responsible. Shit's going to happen to me. I'm going to get wiped out, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? No,
Yeah.
it's crap. Exactly. So you see
Yeah.
how when you put them together here now, caution and accountability for a fear-based mindset, provided balance. Doesn't for you, because you already have this in your toolbox. I mean, you've got a very, very sophisticated understanding of this. You've really got this point, this mastery of this point of fear, transforming it. You've got this in this magic appropriateness of it. You've got sobriety, in other words. Yeah. You understand caution and accountability. You really do. Really, really got it. But not everybody. For you, it's a duh point, Cheryl. The obvious is already obvious for you when it comes to fear. But imagine or go back to a time when it wasn't. Right? Or see it from somebody's perspective who is caught in that bubble.
Yeah.
A whole different world.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So
And
this is our task as facilitators, is not to see things from my point of view, but to understand, to understand unawareness, to understand the bubble, to understand emotion.
Right.
You know, in Cheryl's case, fear is not an issue. She's got this lesson already. She's learned it a long time ago. But in Robin's case, it was a big issue. And to shift it into caution, this was a revelation, and it was profound for her. And to then connect it to accountability. Wow, this was a massive, massive, massive shift.
Okay. Yeah. And
again,
I mean,
look what it says at the end there, right? In all caps.
In a way, I feel prior to going into prison, I was out of balance. Within prison, the environment required balance. It required so much deliberate awareness, attention. It just it required everything. It required everything.
Leverage. It was self-leverage. Look at the end of Robin's point there, right? The last sentence there is in all caps. She says, my self-leverage, in all caps. It's like the title of that comment. So for her, the shift was, you already had applied that when you went to prison. You self-leveraged yourself profoundly. Now, I'm keen that you remember this overview viewpoint, that you went into it in a certain way. Immediately, your sobriety recognized the circumstances and you were able to self-leverage. It's not that you shifted out of fear. That, yes, that's important. The more important point is your ability to self-leverage as appropriate in the moment. That's the key skill. You had it. You never had necessarily the opportunity that pressed on you to apply this in gentle ways, yes, but you didn't quite get it in the gentle way. So the universe said, Cheryl, you really got to understand that you have this ability to step up, to self-leverage, to step into your moment. Yeah.
Okay.
And to understand that and be aware of that. Very important to be aware of it, that you can self-leverage, yes?
Yeah.
Self-appreciation. If we're going to appreciate all of the universe, we have to also appreciate ourselves, because are you not a part of the universe?
Sure.
There you go. So when we are engaged in capital A appreciation, it includes self-appreciation, yes? Because we're part of the universe.
Right. Okay.
Again, look at the quote that I added on underneath Robin's, because somebody else, I think, said they don't get what Robin says, maybe. We create our own balance through self-leverage. That's exactly what you did, right? I didn't know this. I didn't remember this quote was there, but how appropriate in the light of what you said when you went into prison, right? You leverage yourself into balance. Yes?
Yeah.
Right. Good thing to be aware of, that, to find that the balance, sometimes we need to have self-leverage.
Right. And I mean, just as you said before, if you're too tough, you're a target.
Exactly.
If you're too weak, you're a target.
Appropriateness.
So you had to find that balance.
Situations, like when I was on the street, situations like that in the desert, that balance is the balance of appropriateness. And we sometimes, now, appropriateness, you can find the balance by lessening the one side. But sometimes that's not appropriate, like in jail, right? You could find the balance by being less assertive and then you just make yourself a victim. So we have to find balance sometimes to raise the side that's not in balance. Yes. And that's where the
Right.
self-leverage comes in. Yeah. So we want
Okay.
to go to a higher level of balance, not a lower one. Yeah.
Okay.
Self-leverage is how we step up, in other words. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's on this point, let's shift to dictionary of power for the remainder.
Okay.
I want to emphasize again, right, Sue, our appreciation of Cheryl as a spirit warrior,
No question.
pre-existing
Yeah,
spirit warrior.
absolutely. It was already there.
You hear that, Cheryl? It's an important point. It's an
Mhm.
important point. The whole point of what we're doing here is for you to appreciate you already have the shit in you. You got it already. Yes, there's more new stuff we're going to learn, but it's the essential characteristics. You already have it. It's just
Yeah.
appreciating it,
Okay.
understanding it, being aware of it so that you can use it, self-leveraging. Yes?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting how that in the beginning you're like, I'm missing something. I don't get it. But you actually really got it because you were overthinking it because you already understood it. Thought there was another meaning in there, but there really wasn't. You know.
Okay.
But too, I mean, I've come across slides from other people.
I
And
think it's the language,
yeah.
but and we all sort of are adopting our own language
That's
here.
the whole point here. That is the whole point here. Language is deeply, deeply personal.
It is.
It's
It
the
is.
most personal thing we have. Language and awareness, same thing, right?
Okay.
So we need to understand that when we adopt our language, it's ours, but also that doesn't mean that we can be in a bubble and speak our own private language. You know, like some kids that create their own personal language. They
Yeah.
can't. Okay, so we
Right.
need to not only make sure we know what we mean with the term, but we need to know what others mean by it also.
Okay.
So humility that's why I included humility deliberately, because people misunderstand it and they get it all wrong. It's an easy word to get wrong. But
Okay.
when we do, and so I'm not saying adopt the word humility. I'm not saying add it into a dictionary of power. No, but just understand how alternatively it could be met. Right?
Okay.
Same thing with warrior. Most of the participants struggle with putting warrior into their self-conceptions. They try and find some other, warrior's too connected.
Oh, I
to
like
violence.
that one.
Oh,
No, I
exactly.
like that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it. Right. I mean, it's an important term. I mean, look at the balance, right? A warrior understands if I'm fighting on gravel where my footing is a bit treacherous, I've got to change my pace, my rhythm, everything. I can't fight with the same potency and vigor and enthusiasm that might be appropriate. The balance is the important thing, because a warrior knows the moment you lose balance, that's it. You've lost. Yes.
Right. Right.
And that's the key part of any kind of a strategy, is to get out of balance the other person. That's how you maintain things. That's the whole deal, right? So a warrior's understanding of balance is very directly connected. They understand it in a very literal, physical, visceral way.
Yeah. Right.
So it's very important. Like again, when you win an argument, you've lost balance.
Yeah.
You're out of balance. Yeah.
Right.
I'll give you a nice quote to add to that.
And I also feel like as a warrior, I want to. It's not about violence.
No, never.
How do I explain this? I want to face what demons or evil or whatever. I want to take away its power. I don't want to kill it. I want to take away. Isn't that what a warrior really wants to do?
Exactly.
It wants to take away the power of its adversary, not essentially kill it.
Exactly.
Right, so by lifting your power, by raising your power.
Exactly. We want to go higher, not balance lower. We want to balance higher. So in your quote about when you win an argument, you lose, I have an additional quote for you that is like a sister quote, a partner quote. Right? The only way to truly defeat an enemy is to make them your friend.
Yeah. To understand them. Mm-hmm.
Right. Because as long as if you defeat them, they're going to resent it. They're going to hate you. Okay, you kill them. Their family hates you. You got vendetta, all this crap. Or you've added negativity to the world. How does that benefit? You haven't raised the world. When you make them your friend and they understand where you're coming from, now you have no fear of them ever. Right?
Yeah.
You
I
don't
like
fear
that.
friend. Right. So the only way to truly defeat an enemy is make them your friend. Now, when you make them your friend, it's not really defeat even, right? We've taken a sophisticated monist strategy, and we've jumped the entire paradigm into a new paradigm, correct? It's like the same thing when you said, the way to win an argument is not to win it. Okay, I'm paraphrasing you, but it's the same logic, yeah?
Well, yeah, it's not to win. It's not to come away with a victory. It's to come away with an understanding.
Exactly. So we want to jump paradigm. That's why this win mentality paradigm, it's relative. It's a superiority paradigm concept. I can win and, I'm just slightly less worse than you. Boo-hoo. Wonderful. Neither of us have gotten anything, right? So when we really see it's about the mourners, and when I make my enemies my friends, then
But won't that enemy always want what's bad for you?
No, I make them my friend. They change. Fear, enemy for most people. You understood how to make fear your friend. You transformed fear into sobriety, into awareness, into balance, into stepping up, into appropriateness, right? You transformed, you changed fear from being a negative into all sorts of other things. Fear is unrecognizable in you. It's self-preservation, it's sensibility, it's sobriety, it's strategy, it's awareness, it's understanding, it's all sorts of magical things, correct?
Yeah.
You've changed fear. It's your friend. It's not your enemy anymore. Yeah, it's not recognizable. Somebody say, what do you mean Cheryl's got fear? That's the point. When your enemy is your friend, you don't see them as an enemy. Nobody else does either. That's the point. They change. They're not the same thing. They become something different. Fear is something different.
Chris, right. Chris, here.
It's become magical to it. All sorts of wonderful, fantastic things for you. So you can't think of it that you've made friends with fear. No, you've transformed fear, a whole different thing, right? Same thing when you take an enemy and you make them into a friend. You're not making friends with your enemy. That's not the quote. You are changing them into a friend. Now they're a friend. This whole idea that they were an enemy, that's in the past. It's different now. There's transformation, in other words, right? Same thing with fear or all of these concepts. We are transforming them. They don't stay the same. So I'm not making peace with fear. No, I'm transforming fear. It's a whole different deal.
You transformed fear in jail, by taking your power back, not letting it take you over. Yes.
You had it before that incident.
Yeah.
When you stepped into jail, you transformed fear into sobriety. You stepped up, right? You were in a different level the moment you went in there. Yes? Yeah. It's very cool, Cheryl. Very, very cool. Very cool. Very cool. You made it into a power, not a limitation. Right? Like people who are our friends, or they add to us. Enemies detract from us. We can transform them. It's up to us, though. That transformation is up to us.
Okay.
Yeah. Self-leverage, leverage. We love leverage. You're a master at leverage. We didn't get much to the dictionary of power. Were there any things
we didn't.
that were okay? Never mind. Were there any recent additions that were potent from these slides?
No, I did not get to that. No, I mean, I have words highlighted that I want to include, but I want to ponder them a little further before I actually write it down. Good. But I've highlighted a number of words that are going in.
Oh, brilliant. All right. So Cheryl, I want to emphasize, trust your impeccability, trust your sensibility. In this program, there is no formula that we are following. Trust what you feel is right and do that. You want to start again? We start again. I love it. I think it's fabulous. It makes me very happy. Yeah. And again, there's no set pace to this. It is always about pertinence, relevance, and therefore appropriate emphasis for Cheryl. Do what fits right with you, what you want to do. If we spend all of our time on module 1, session 1, slide 1, what do I care? If there's learning involved, if there's growth, there's awareness, if it's appropriate, if it's pertinent and relevant, that's the key, right?
Okay.
We can, in other words, we can connect to the entirety through simply one point. Yes.
Okay.
In other words, it takes one seed to start a forest, no?
Yeah. Okay.
It depends on the seed. Now, if
All
it's a
right.
seed that grows a plant that a seedless plant, you're not going to get a forest. But
Okay.
our seeds are always seeds that create seed-bearing
Right.
plants. Always,
Right.
right? Multiple.
Yeah.
So we can start anywhere. Any seed we plant in these conceptions are going to lead to a forest. And besides, all of our seeds, those entries into the dictionary of power, these points of understanding, these points of awareness, these points of appreciation, they're
Right.
all connected. They're all multiple seed bearing, like forests. You know, they're connected with their roots underneath.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. That's
Those
right. And
ancient-
like in a way, there, I feel like I dig pretty deep,
Yes.
and I don't want that opening to close back up and like
Yes,
lose
Cheryl. Yes, Cheryl.
what I
Yes.
mean.
Which is yes.
Like
Yes.
I
Which
feel
is
like I dig
uh,
down deep, and then if
uh,
I don't be careful, I fill
yes.
in that.
Yes. Yes. Cheryl. In most of the participants that do the program, we continue afterwards because consolidation is the key, right? It's absolutely essential to maintain the new habits, to maintain the new awarenesses, to consolidate, to entrench them. Now, you are feeling this right at the beginning. And that's why I absolutely am thrilled to hear you want to go again, because I'm like that too. I don't want to lose what I've learned. I want
That's
to
right.
lock it in. I want to entrench it.
That's
That's
right.
why I can do this over
Because
and over again.
that's my foundation for learning more. So
Exactly.
you know what I mean? That has to be as solid as I can. And when
Yeah.
I know it's solid, you'll know it's solid. I'll let
So
you know it's not
exactly,
solid right now.
exactly.
I feel a little wiggly.
Exactly. So when you redo this, do it with Cheryl, old Cheryl, new Cheryl, Mona Cheryl, and do it also with facilitator awareness.
Okay.
Not my awareness, but facilitator awareness. In other words, come at it from as if you now looking at it from the point you wrote this for a participant. How are you going to say this? To see it in the full context of appropriateness, right?
Right.
That we can't be everything to everybody. We have to make these adjustments and compromises is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So when you don't get it, to say maybe I already got it, right? So I want you to appreciate yourself to come at it from the mourners angle. Again, this is where humility comes in. You don't want to apply that to every single slide because then you're just going to assume you get it and you're going to miss the mourners sometimes. But when you've made every effort to find the mourners and you still don't find it, and you say, when you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Well, the truth must be that, well, you already got it.
Okay.
I don't want you to exclude that as a possibility, as a probability, right? I mean, your brain is set up to only think of it as you not getting it, not that you could already have it, right? So you want to include that in your range of options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're very sophisticated and you're very sober, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Very, very,
Cheryl,
very,
before you
very.
go, what did the furniture people, did you hear from them?
I thought I told you they're sending a tech.
When? Did they say when?
Oh, they didn't, but they were supposed to call me yesterday and they didn't. So today they get called again.
Oh, okay.
And tomorrow I'm going to call them again.
Yeah.
And the day after that, I'm going to call them again.
There you go. There you go.
And then
Also,
I'm
what
gonna
happened?
call them again.
What happened with Jean-Francois?
You know, did I tell you he was in my house?
Yeah. Oh, it was in your house. I thought just outside. No, I didn't hear the whole story.
You
You just mentioned it.
he Sunday, Gregory, I was out running a few errands. I had just spoke to Gregory. I said, yeah, I just got gas. I'm on my way home. I neglected to say I drove to Jersey for my gas because it was 20 cents a gallon cheaper. But anyway, so I was over in Jersey. He thought I was 2 blocks away. And so then he heard he had got home maybe 20 minutes before our phone conversation. And he walked out onto the deck to water some plants. And he heard the garage door close. We have big, heavy doors, and they make noise when they close. And he said, Cheryl, is that you? Because he thought it was me. And when I didn't answer, he already had 2 plants in his hand that he was going to take out and plant outside in the yard. And he realized there's nobody here, but somebody obviously walked through our back door. So he went to the back door and went outside, and there's Jean-Francois, all dressed in black, which was very weird, walking between our houses, cutting across and going over to his house. He was on our property at that point, but he was en route to his house. Now, was that a coincidence that he's just cruising around on my property? I don't know.
But he's
Yeah, but
not.
what did you need to close the garage door for?
Well, yeah. What was is Greg hearing things? Was somebody else in the house?
No,
We don't,
no.
you know what I mean? Can't prove
Yeah.
anything.
I
But
know,
we
but still,
decided,
I mean,
we decided to make a police report.
yeah, yeah.
So we called the
What
police.
so did Greg talk to Jean-Francois at that point?
No,
No, no.
no,
He didn't say anything,
Nope.
Jean-Francois?
nope. But
That's
I mean,
disturbing.
Jean-Francois saw Greg. He looked over at Greg and turned his head and kept walking towards his door. And
No,
I
don't
said, you
discount
know,
that garage door. That's not something you just hear.
yeah,
It's a very clear. I mean, the
I
fact that he
think
said, Cheryl, is that you? That means he clearly heard it, you know. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he was in my house, and I don't think it was the first time.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, so we called the police because first of all, I knew the Forks police would come like the cavalry. So there was 3 cop cars in front of our house.
Excellent.
And I needed Jean-Francois to know he was caught.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might not be approaching you. We might not be arresting you, but make no mistake about it, we know you were here.
Aware. Yeah, yeah.
I'm aware of you. I
Very
know you were
appropriate.
here.
So yeah. So I would pay attention to things that, like, you know, for instance, your garage is open, right? Most people have a connecting door to the kitchen from the garage, right?
Yeah, that's the door we heard close. Yeah,
Right. Now, they don't always have a lock on that door.
yeah, we do.
Okay. They
We
don't
do,
always
but
use.
the thing
don't
about it
always
was, is that Greg
lock.
thought I was coming home in 5 minutes. He didn't lock the door.
Correct. So,
But
so now,
Jean-Francois was already in the house at that point.
correct. So my point is, you know, just to be a little bit more vigilant with your security. Now, attention is also power. We don't want to over pay attention to things and make them real, right? So we have to have this balance. Yes, you're going to do it, but you're not going to overemphasize it. You're just going to do it. Well, it's a good idea, and you know, all right. You know, not to bring it into reality, right? You don't want to bring that.
I know. I just think, you know what? I've lived here for 30 years in harmony with nature, in harmony with the people around me. And now I live next door to a psychopath. And it's just, I'm telling you, it makes me absolutely sick to my stomach.
Right. But this, you know, send this awareness that, you know, Jean-Francois is realizing this is a path that's going in the wrong direction, that he chills, that he corrects, and he gets stuff. And, you know, whoever you can touch him to calm him and shift him and change him, he's obviously not in a good spot. So, but he needs help.
Yeah, he does. He does. Unfortunately, it's not going to come from me.
Yeah.
But
no, it's not appropriate to come from you. But again, you know, you can do your part by being vigilant.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Cool. I got to run. I got an appointment.
I got to go to the bathroom, so I got to go too.
Okay.
But
all right, we'll see you next time then.
We'll see you next week.
You on Tuesday. Don't miss if you can help it. I know sometimes it's important, but you know, I truly.
No, and
my own personal importance.
I'm going. Yeah, and I'm going to you know what I mean? I may reach out to you in the following next couple of slides just to make sure I'm okay.
Absolutely. And again, Cheryl, you know, we don't have to. I have a lot of freedom in my schedule right now. So we don't have to. If you miss, we can do it the next day or whatever. You know, there's a lot of, or later in the day or whatever. I have a lot of free time in this.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. All right. I'll talk to you soon then, Sil.
Brilliant. I love it.
All right. All right. Bye, honey.
Bye-bye. Yes. Bye-bye. You too, Cheryl. Love you too. You're magical.